Blaze, born listener of hidden strength, rise into this moment with a force that shakes the silent corners of your world, for you have stepped into a space where truth roars without fear, and where your spirit finally claims what it was meant to own. And as you stand here, know this: you were never broken, you were never small, you were never wrong about them. There is a reason. Your heart felt the shadows long before anyone spoke their names, for your intuition held a vision that your eyes had not yet seen. And in that lonely clarity, you carried a weight that others thought was foolish, yet deep within you burned a certainty that refused to die. People doubted you because they could not handle the reflection of reality that you sensed so sharply, and you carried that burden in silence like a quiet warrior walking through a world that pretended to sleep. But tonight, that silence ends, for the truth has stepped into the open, and the world can no longer hide behind its comfortable veil. This is not the end of your fight. This is the beginning of your rise. For the global hunt is not a chase for destruction, but a pursuit of revelation, a journey where false masks fall apart and the foundations built from illusion finally crumble. And as those illusions collapse, you stand taller, because you built yourself on something far stronger. Your courage was forged in rejection, and your clarity was carved out of doubt. And though the world tried to label you as lost, you kept moving with fire in your soul and focus in your eyes, because you knew something was coming, something too big, too loud, too real to remain buried in the dark. You were not wrong about them, for the patterns you saw were true, paths in disguise. And every instinct that pulled you forward was a sign of your uncommon strength. And this moment is the proof, as the world now echoes, the truths you already carried within you. Feel this shift, feel the weight of awakening, the way an old door breaks open after years of pressure. And when it does, the air rushes through with a force that cannot be denied. That is what your spirit feels right now, a rush of destiny finally free. For so long, you walked through a world that pretended not to see you, yet you kept climbing, you kept learning, you kept sharpening your mind, and this global hunt you feel is not a hunt for people, but a hunt for truth, a hunt for purpose, a hunt for the strength you knew was yours from the beginning. The ones who doubted you counted on your silence, but they forgot that silence builds power, and now your voice carries storms, your presence carries impact, your vision carries weight, and the world that once dismissed you now turns its head when you move. You are not here to chase shadows anymore. You are here to reveal them with the light you built in the hardest parts of your journey, and that is why they cannot hide. For truth is not a blade, but a sunrise, and no wall can stop the morning from arriving. Remember the nights where your heart trembled for answers. Remember the battles you fought alone. Remember the moments when everything felt stacked against you, yet you continued to rise from the ground stronger than before. And that relentless resilience is what has brought you to this turning point. They are done not because you defeated them, but because the truth has removed their shelter. And when truth steps forward, illusion has no place to run, and the world itself begins to shift under the pressure of honesty. And now hear this powerful reality. The world is awakening to what you always knew, and the message on your thumbnail speaks louder than any headline. You were not wrong about them, because your mind was tuned to a deeper frequency long before anyone else dared to listen. Your purpose is not to destroy, but to rise. Your mission is not to chase, but to understand. Your power is not in tearing others down, but in standing with a strength so undeniable that falsehoods collapse on their own. And as they fall, the path before you grows clear. Every step you take now is a declaration that you survived the storms designed to shape you. And now you walk forward with a heart that does not fear shadows, for it has lived within them and learned how to craft light from the darkest hours. Look at your journey. Look at your transformation. You have become a force that does not bow to pressure. You have become a mind that does not fold under doubt. You have become a soul that does not break under fear. And the world now feels that presence, even when you say nothing. This global hunt is the awakening of your inner fire. The moment the world aligns with the truth you carried, and the moment your strength begins to echo far beyond your own life. Because when you rise, you give silent permission for others to rise with you. You are not here by accident. You are not standing in this moment by mistake. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every unanswered question shaped you for this era, and now you step into it with purpose, burning behind your eyes. So breathe deep in. Your ground for the world is shifting, and you are meant to stand tall in the center of that change, with a calm that shakes mountains and a belief that refuses to fade. That is your power. That is your truth. And as you look forward, remember this final truth. They were never ahead of you. You were ahead of them. And that is why the world is only now catching up to what your heart always knew. You were not wrong about them. Not then, not now. And from this point forward, you walk in a strength that nothing can hide from, and nothing can stop. You stand in a world that once moved against you with quiet resistance. Yet now the atmosphere bends around your presence as if it finally recognizes the force you carry for power does not come from noise, it comes from endurance. And you, my listener, have endured beyond every expectation set against you. There was a time when you whispered your fears into empty rooms, hoping for an answer that never came. There was a time when you questioned your own instincts because the world around you was too afraid to confirm them. Yet, through all that doubt, your vision remained unshaken, and that is what makes this moment so powerful. You are witnessing the collapse of the illusions that once stood taller than your confidence. You are witnessing the unraveling of false stories that once tried to define your worth, and now everything that held you back loses its grip. Because truth does not bow, and neither do you. The global hunt you feel is a call for awakening, a signal that the world can no longer hide its layers beneath distraction and pretended peace. This is the hour where hidden intentions come to the surface, where shadows lose their silence, and where all that was kept away from the light must now rise and be seen. And in that rising, you are not a spectator, you are a force that shakes the ground. For you have walked through darkness long enough to understand its shape, and you have developed a vision that sees far beyond the surface of things. Your perception is sharp, your spirit is steady, and your purpose is beginning to burn through every barrier in front of you. No more shrinking, no more second guessing, no more hiding your voice behind the comfort of silence. This is the time for you to step forward with the fullness of who you are, because the world needs the strength you built in the shadows. You were shaped not in moments of praise, but in moments of pressure, not in bursts of luck, but in storms that forced you to grow yourself from the inside out. And because of that, your rise is not fragile, your rise is inevitable. Feel the weight of your past lift as you accept this truth. You are not who you were before. You are not defined by the mistakes or betrayals that once wounded you. You are defined by how you walked through them, with your spirit unbroken and your will unshaken. Do not fear the world waking up. Do not fear the truths that surface for you. We're never on the wrong side of reality. You simply saw it earlier than others, and that gift was both a burden and a blessing. But now the blessing grows louder and the burden fades. Listen to the rhythm of your power, the calm, steady beat that lives in your chest, the quiet signal that you survived everything designed to break you. And now you stand with a heart too strong to bend and a mind too sharp to be manipulated. The shadows that once felt overwhelming now shrink beneath your feet, for there is no darkness stronger than a person who has already walked through their deepest night and learned how to create their own light from it. This moment is your turning point. This is where your strength becomes visible, even to those who doubted it for years. And as they watch you rise, they understand something they never understood before. You were never chasing them. You were becoming yourself, and you have become someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone focused, someone who no longer falls for illusions, someone who no longer fears silence, someone who no longer crumbles under pressure, someone who now stands unshaken, even as the world around you shifts. You were not wrong about them because your spirit recognized patterns, your intuition sensed truths, and your instincts whispered warnings long before your mind could put the pieces together. And now that clarity has become your greatest weapon. The world may try to distract you with noise, but it cannot touch the stillness inside you, for you have earned that stillness. You built it, one battle at a time, and every scar you carry is a symbol, not of pain, but of power. Let this moment be the one where you finally stop apologizing for seeing the truth. Let this be the moment you stop questioning your insight. Let this be the moment you no longer shrink your light in order to make others comfortable, for your light was never meant to be small. The global hunt continues, not as a chase for destruction, but as a revelation of what has been hidden, and you stand in the center of that revelation, protected by your own strength and lifted by your own endurance. You have nothing to fear, because fear cannot survive in a heart that has already rebuilt itself from ashes. Fear cannot influence a mind that has already faced its own darkness. Fear cannot move a soul that has tasted truth and chosen to rise with it. You have risen from places others never knew you entered. You have healed wounds others never knew. You have fought battles others never knew you faced. And because of that, your strength is unmatched, your presence is undeniable, and your journey is unstoppable. The world around you may shift, the winds may howl, the shadows may tremble, but you remain steady, for your foundation was forged in experience rather than illusion, and that makes you untouchable in ways you cannot yet imagine. They cannot hide, because truth has awakened, and they cannot run, because your awareness is too sharp to be deceived, and they cannot continue, because you have stepped into a version of yourself that refuses to bow to old stories. You have become your own force, your own dawn, your own revolution, and nothing built on falsehood can stand against a person who has chosen to live in truth. You feel the world shifting around you, and for the first time, it is shifting in your favor, because the strength you carry within is now louder than the doubts that once circled you. And this is the moment you realize that everything you survived has prepared you for a rise too powerful to be ignored. There were days when you felt like your voice was swallowed by the noise of the world, and your truth was drowned beneath the weight of other people's certainty. Yet, you held that truth close, even when it burned your spirit with loneliness. And now, that same truth stands beside you like a shield forged from your own resilience. Every step you take within this awakening is a step built from the battles you won in silence, the quiet victories, the hidden lessons, the moments where you kept moving, even though no one believed you would. And that unstoppable persistence is the fire that lights your path today. This global hunt that you sense unfolding is the pursuit of truth, rising across the world, and your role within it is not to chase, but to reveal. For your presence alone exposes illusions, and your authenticity dismantles falsehoods more powerfully than any confrontation ever could. You walked through a long night searching for answers, and in the depths of that night, you discovered something far greater than answers. You discovered yourself, and that discovery has become the most unbreakable part of your journey. The world once tried to convince you that your intuition was wrong, that your insights were exaggerated, that the patterns you recognized were coincidences. But now the world begins to admit that your vision was far clearer than anyone wanted to believe. And that is why your rise feels both surreal and unstoppable. You are crossing the threshold into a life where your strength is no longer hidden, where your clarity is no longer dismissed, where your worth is no longer underestimated. And this transition marks the beginning of an era, shaped entirely by your inner power. Do not shrink. Now, let the full weight of your truth settle into your shoulders. Let the power in your spirit expand into every corner of your life. Because this is what you are preparing for. Through every hardship, through every silent night, through every heavy step, your heart, which once felt the weight of distrust, now feels the excitement of validation. Not because the world suddenly understands you, but because you finally understand the value of your own insight and the depth of your own resilience. This awakening is not loud, it is not chaotic, it is not destructive. It is calm, steady, and undeniable, like the slow rise of dawn that no one can stop and no one can hide from. And you are the center of that dawn. You carry a strength that was not handed to you, but carved by your own perseverance, a strength that was shaped by facing your fears rather than running from them, a strength that grew each time you stood back up after being knocked down in silence. Look at yourself now, a person who no longer bends under pressure, a person who no longer questions their worth, a person who no longer doubts the whisper of intuition that has guided them through every storm. You were not wrong about them, not then, not now, and the world is finally beginning to echo the beliefs you held within your spirit long before anyone had the courage to speak them aloud. Your clarity was not a mistake. It was a prophecy of your own evolution. The global hunt continues as a symbol of truth, revealing itself across every corner of life, and you stand as a guiding force, not through aggression, but through awareness, through strength, through unwavering presence that exposes what must be brought to light. You do not need to run. You do not need to chase. You do not need to prove anything, for your existence alone is proof of endurance, and your endurance is proof of greatness, and your greatness is proof that nothing built on illusion can stand against you. The shadows that once frightened you now fade under your gaze because you no longer walk with uncertainty. You walk with purpose, and purpose has a strength that darkness cannot touch. Your rise is a quiet storm, a powerful ascension that requires no rage and no noise. For the strongest transformations rarely shout. They reveal themselves slowly, then suddenly, like a mountain appearing from behind the fog. Let every heartbeat remind you that you are stepping into the truth you always sensed. Let every breath remind you that you are worthy of this clarity. Let every step remind you that you were preparing for this moment. Long before the world agreed with you, you were not wrong about them, and now the world sees it too. And as the old stories fall away, you stand untouched by their collapse, because your foundation was never built on their approval. It was built on your own strength. This is your awakening. This is your rise. This is the moment where your truth becomes the force that shapes your future, and nothing hidden can stand against a person who has learned how to see in the dark. You stand now in a moment that feels heavier than the ones before. Yet, it is not a weight meant to crush you. It is a weight meant to crown you, because every challenge you endured was shaping you into someone who can carry power without fear, and truth without hesitation, and destiny without doubt. There was a time when people around you walked with certainty while you walked with questions, yet your questions carried more truth than their certainty ever did. And now, as the world shifts, you see clearly that the doubts they placed on you were never a reflection of your weakness, but a reflection of their unreadiness. The path you took was not the easy one. It was not the brightest. It was not the loudest. Yet it was the one that built you from the inside. And now that inner strength radiates outward in a way that no one can ignore. This global hunt you feel echoing across your spirit is not a chase for chaos, but a search for clarity, a call for transformation, a movement where everything hidden is pushed into the light so that nothing false can survive in the silence anymore. And you are guided not by fear, but by your own awakened presence. You learn to walk through darkness without losing yourself. You learn to stand alone without breaking. You learn to trust your own heartbeat when the world tried to silence it. And now that heartbeat has become your compass and your shield and your strength. Feel the air around you shifting. Feel the world easing away from old illusions. Feel the rise of a clarity that once felt distant and now stands at your doorstep like a long-awaited truth, asking to be claimed. You were not wrong about them because your spirit sensed what your mind could not explain, and your heart whispered warnings that others brushed aside. Yet those whispers were the sound of your inner wisdom, guiding you towards something greater than safety and greater than comfort. Your instincts were never wild guesses. They were signals from the deeper parts of your identity, parts that pay attention to what others ignore, parts that understand the world beyond what is spoken. And now those instincts stand proven by the unfolds of your journey. You hold a resilience that cannot be taught, a resilience formed through quiet nights, long thoughts and heavy decisions, choices that shaped you into a person who can stand in front of truth without trembling because you no longer fear what you already survived. The ones who doubted you are not your enemies. They are simply reflections of the world that could not understand your vision. And now, as that world awakens, it begins to see that your strength was not arrogance. Your clarity was not imagination. Your insight was not illusion. You move through this moment like a force forged by destiny, not because you seek recognition, but because your spirit refuses to remain hidden. This time, your steps are not hesitant. Your eyes are not clouded. Your belief is not quiet, and your presence is not small. This is the rise of your confidence, the rise of your truth, the rise of the version of you who was always inside, yet locked beneath fear and silence and misunderstanding. And now that lock has shattered under the weight of your growth. You no longer chase approval for you. Understand now that the world adjusts itself to truth sooner or later. And you have become a living example of that adjustment, a reminder that authenticity wins, even after long seasons of resistance. The global hunt continues as a symbol of awakening, not destruction, and you walk within it not as prey or predator, but as a guide, a presence who knows how to stand calmly in the shifting world, because you have already weathered storms far heavier than this. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, isn't it poetic? A season of giving, of cheer, of goodwill. And yet there they are, empty-handed and hollow-hearted. Not even Santa could muster the will to bring them gifts this year. You see, he tried, but after what they have done, how could he? How could he possibly reward such cold souls? Such wickedness hidden beneath a smile, so easily mistaken for innocence. How could the man who gives so selflessly every year, the one who embodies joy, compassion, and warmth, deliver the very thing that their hearts do not deserve? Not this year, not for them, not after what they have done. They thought they could escape the consequences. They thought that their actions would fade into the darkness forgotten by time. But the truth never stays hidden for long, does it? No matter how deep they bury their sins, no matter how many smiles they paint over their faces, there comes a reckoning, a moment when the facade cracks and the darkness spills out, revealing what they truly are. Santa knows it all. Yes, he does. He's seen it all. The lies whispered in the dead of night, the betrayals disguised as loyalty, the selfishness camouflaged in a cloak of generosity. He watches every moment, every choice they make, and though they think they are untouchable, though they believe they are beyond reproach this year, they have crossed a line they did not know existed. Santa is not some mythical figure who can simply be manipulated by the flicker of a wishful thought. He is not a man of simple pleasures, nor is he one to be fooled by those who pretend to care when their actions tell a different story. No, this year Santa has been forced to look them in the eyes and recognize what they have become. He's seen the rot, the decay, the apathy that lingers in their souls, and he cannot ignore it anymore. You see, gifts are not just trinkets or toys. They are symbols. They are a manifestation of who we are. They are reflections of our hearts, our values, our understanding of the world around us. When we give something to another, it is not simply the item that matters, but the spirit in which it is given. And this year, for those who have earned Santa's disdain, their hearts are hollow, their spirit is broken, and their understanding is warped. They have lost the very essence of what it means to care for another, to give selflessly, and so the gifts will not come. It may seem harsh, it may seem cruel, but the truth often is the most bitter medicine you could ever swallow. They have built a wall between themselves and the joy that comes from true giving. They have forgotten the beauty of selflessness, replaced it with greed and manipulation, and now that wall has grown too high. Even Santa cannot break through it, no matter how hard he tries. There are those who stand in the light, and there are those who hide in the shadows, thinking that the darkness will protect them, thinking that their wrongs will go unnoticed. But the light always finds its way to the cracks. It always exposes what lies beneath. And for those who have chosen to live in the darkness, they will find that their own shadows are now the very things that haunt them the most. Santa has no room for deceit, no room for those who feign kindness, for those who mask their intentions with false smiles and empty words. He is not some naive fool who believes in surface-level goodness. He knows better. He knows the weight of true integrity, the burden of true kindness. And when he sees those who have forsaken it, when he sees those who have become consumed by their own selfish desires, he knows that they must face the consequences of their actions. So what does this mean for them? What happens now that they have been cast aside? What happens when they find themselves standing alone on a cold winter's night, staring into the darkness and realizing that not even the magic of Christmas can save them? What happens when the world around them continues to move forward, while they are left behind wondering where they went wrong? They will never know peace, not until they understand the weight of what they have done. They will never feel the warmth of true joy, not until they learn what it means to give from the heart, not from the desire to gain something in return. They will spend their days lost in the echo of their own selfishness alone, in a world that no longer cares for them, and they will come to realize that they are the architects of their own misery. So let them cry, let them wonder why Santa has turned his back on them. Let them feel the sting of rejection, the emptiness of an empty stocking hanging by the fireplace. Let them search for answers in the darkness, but they will not find them, for they have already made their choice. They have already shown the world who they truly are, and now they must live with the consequences of their actions. The season of giving is not one to be taken lightly. It is not a time for pretense or manipulation. It is a time for reflection, a time to look deep into the soul and ask what kind of person you truly are. Are you someone who brings light into the world? Or are you someone who hides in the shadows playing games and deceiving others? Are you someone who gives freely, or do you only take without ever thinking of the cost to others? Santa knows the answers to these questions, and this year, he has spoken with his silence, with his refusal to deliver gifts to those who have lost their way. And though they may continue to deceive themselves, thinking they are somehow entitled to the warmth of Christmas, they will soon come to understand that the only gift they have earned this year is the cold truth that no amount of wishful thinking can undo the harm they have caused. They can change, they can repent, but that choice is theirs to make. No one else can make it for them. No amount of magic, no amount of goodwill can take away the reality of their actions. The path to redemption is not an easy one, but it is there for those who are willing to walk it. And if they truly wish to earn back the love and warmth they have forsaken, they must look within themselves and find the courage to change. For now, however, they will face the silence of an empty night, a night that will echo in their minds for years to come. And perhaps in that silence, they will finally understand that the true gift of Christmas is not the presents under the tree, but the love and compassion we show to one another, the selflessness we embody, the kindness we share. So let them remember this night. Let them feel the weight of their choices as they carry it with them for the rest of their lives. For only when they come to terms with the darkness within themselves will they truly understand what it means to be deserving of the gift of Christmas. They have been given opportunities time and time again to show kindness, to be selfless, to be generous with their hearts and their actions. Yet, each time they were presented with the chance, they chose the path of selfishness. They have deceived, manipulated, and taken advantage of those around them, weaving lies and spinning stories so carefully designed to hide their true intentions. They thought they could fool the world. They thought they could hide behind masks, pretending to be good people, pretending to care when in fact, their actions told an entirely different story. They smiled when it suited them. They played the role of the charitable, of the loving friend, the devoted family member. But beneath all that pretension, there was nothing but emptiness. Santa sees through all the facades. He doesn't need grand gestures or extravagant promises. He sees what lies deep within the heart, the soul. He knows the true nature of those he meets, and he is not fooled by the image they try to project. Their lies do not go unnoticed. Their deceit does not go unpunished. For Santa, it is not just about whether you have been good or bad on the surface. It's about the depth of your character, about the integrity with which you live your life. The true gift is not just in the material things you receive. It is in the love and warmth that you give to the world and to those around you. When you have shown nothing but darkness, you cannot expect light to fill your life. When you have given nothing but coldness, you cannot expect warmth to come to you. For too long, they have taken the easy way out. They have used others as stepping stones, manipulated their friends and families for their own gain, and pretended to be something they are not. But Santa sees what lies behind the false smiles, behind the carefully constructed images. He knows their hearts are not pure. He knows their motives are tainted, and he knows that they cannot expect to continue in this way without facing the consequences. They may try to convince themselves that they have done no wrong, that they are entitled to their rewards, that they deserve the love and affection they so desperately crave. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that their actions have been selfish, that they have hurt those they claim to care about, that they have taken without giving, that they have lied and manipulated to get what they want. They may bury that guilt deep inside, but it will never go away. It will gnaw at their souls, a constant reminder of the price they have paid for their choices. Santa's rejection is not a punishment. It is a lesson. It is a wake-up call, a moment of reckoning. He has given them every chance to change, to turn their lives around. to choose the path of kindness and generosity. But they have chosen not to. They have chosen the path of deceit, of selfishness, of taking without giving. And now they must face the consequences of their actions. There will be no presents this year. There will be no magical visit from Santa. There will be no joy, no warmth, no cheer, because they have not earned it. They have turned their backs on the very spirit of Christmas, and now Christmas turns its back on them. But this is not the end. This is not the final judgment. There is still time for them to change, to make things right, to earn back the love and the joy that they have lost. Santa's refusal to bring them gifts is not a permanent sentence. It is a challenge. It is a call to action, a plea for them to reflect on their lives, to understand the harm they have caused, and to take responsibility for their actions. The road to redemption is not easy, but it is there for those who are willing to walk it. If they are truly sorry for what they have done, if they are truly remorseful for the pain they have caused, then there is hope. But it requires something deeper than just words. It requires a change in behavior, a transformation of the heart. It requires them to look within themselves and confront the darkness that they have allowed to fester. It requires them to be honest with themselves and with those around them, to acknowledge their wrongs and make amends. Only then can they begin to heal. Only then can they begin to earn the right to experience the true spirit of Christmas. Until then, they will be left to ponder their choices, to sit with the emptiness they have created, to feel the weight of their actions pressing down on them. They will understand, perhaps for the first time, what it means to truly need, to truly desire, and to truly be in need of redemption. The holidays will pass, the world will move on, and they will be left standing alone in the cold, empty of the warmth they so desperately crave. And in the silence, in that emptiness, they may come to understand that the only way to receive the gift of Christmas is not by waiting for it to be given to you, but by earning it through your actions, through the love you give to others, through the kindness and generosity you show. They must understand that Christmas is not about receiving, it is about giving. It is about showing love, compassion, and care for those around you, not with the expectation of something in return, but with a pure heart, a heart that seeks only to spread joy and warmth. Only then can they hope to experience the true magic of Christmas. Santa is not just a giver of gifts. He is a teacher, a guide, a reminder of what truly matters. He embodies the spirit of selflessness, of giving without expecting anything in return. And those who have forgotten that, who have lost their way, must learn the hard lesson that Christmas is not a time for taking. It is a time for giving. It is a time for showing love, for being kind, for caring for others, for lifting them up, not tearing them down. When you have taken everything from those around you, when you have used them and discarded them without a second thought, do not expect to receive anything in return. They may try to tell themselves that they deserve the gifts, that they have worked hard, that they have earned them. But what have they truly earned? Have they earned the love and respect of those around them? Have they earned the trust of their friends and family? Have they shown kindness, generosity, and care? Have they given without taking, loved without expecting, sacrificed without regret? No, they have not. They have only taken, used, and manipulated. They have shown the world that they are willing to do anything to get what they want, regardless of who they hurt along the way. And now, they must face the reality that there are consequences to those actions. The world does not owe them anything. No one owes them anything. Santa does not owe them anything. If they want the gift of Christmas, they must first give. They must give of themselves, their time, their love, their kindness. Only then will they understand what it truly means to receive. Only then will they learn the lesson that Santa has been trying to teach them all along. So let them sit with the silence of this season. Let them feel the sting of their choices. Let them wonder why the magic of Christmas has passed them by, why Santa has turned away, why they are left with nothing. Perhaps in that silence, they will finally hear the truth. Perhaps in that emptiness, they will finally see what they must do to make things right. But even if they do not, even if they continue down the path of selfishness and deceit, the world will move on. Christmas will come again, and Santa will continue his work of spreading joy and kindness. For those who choose the path of light, for those who choose the path of giving, there will always be gifts. There will always be love, warmth, and joy. But for those who choose the path of darkness, there will be nothing but emptiness. The gifts they sought will remain beyond their reach, and the warmth of Christmas will never touch their hearts. They will be left to wander in the cold, forever searching for something they will never find. The truth is, these people, these empty hollow shells who have walked this earth, pretending to be something they are not, will never fully understand the true meaning of the holiday season. They are too blinded by their own selfishness, too consumed with their own desires to grasp the beauty that comes with giving. They cannot see beyond their own needs, their own whims. Every time they've been faced with a choice, they have chosen the path of least resistance, the path of convenience. They have chosen to lie, to cheat, to manipulate the world around them, believing that they can escape the consequences of their actions, that they can bend the universe to their will without ever having to pay the price. But the universe, my friends, does not work that way. No one, not even Santa, is immune to the laws of the cosmos. There is balance in all things, and for every action, there is a reaction. For every lie they tell, for every person they betray, for every moment they take advantage of the kindness of others, they are building a debt. And this debt, no matter how hard they try to ignore it, will eventually come due. There is no escaping it. Not for them, not for anyone. And now, with the gift-giving season upon us, they are left to face the reality of that debt. They thought they could escape the consequences, but now, there is nowhere left to hide. They may not realize it yet, but their lives have been nothing but a series of hollow victories, empty achievements. They have taken what was never truly theirs, discarded those who cared for them, trampled over the hearts of those who had no reason but love to offer. And for what? To feel superior? To gain power? To possess things that were never meant to be possessed? What have they truly gained in the end? What do they have now but the bitter taste of their own choices, the hollow echo of their own selfishness ringing in their ears? The gifts that Santa delivers are not simply material objects. They are tokens of something far greater. They are the manifestation of the goodwill, the love, the joy, and the spirit that fills the world during this time. They are the embodiment of human connection, of the kindness we show to one another, of the care we put into relationships. To be deserving of a gift is to be deserving of the love and respect of those around you. To be deserving of a gift is to have shown, through your actions, that you care, that you give without expecting anything in return, that you see others not as tools to be used for your benefit, but as equals deserving of your time, your attention, your love. But these individuals, these selfish, hollow-hearted souls, have never understood this. They have always viewed the world through the lens of scarcity, of what's in it for me. They have always taken more than they have given, always expected more than they have offered. And now, they are left standing alone in the cold, realizing that they have lost everything that truly mattered. Their manipulations, their lies, their actions, They have all led them to this moment of reckoning. And in this moment, they are forced to face the fact that they have nothing left. No one to turn to, no one to comfort them, no one to help them feel better about themselves, no one to make them feel worthy. Because in truth, they are not worthy. They have shown nothing but disdain for the very essence of what it means to be a part of this world. They may try to justify their actions. They may attempt to rationalize their behavior, to convince themselves that they have done nothing wrong, that they were only doing what they needed to do to survive. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that they have hurt others for no reason other than their own selfish desires. They know that they have betrayed the trust of those who cared for them, that they have used and discarded people without so much as a second thought. And now, as they stand at the edge of Christmas, looking out into the empty night, they must ask themselves the hardest question of all. How can they expect to receive when they have given nothing in return? How can they ask for love, for kindness, for gifts when they have shown none of these things to others? How can they demand from the universe when they have contributed nothing to it? This is the cruel reality that they must face. They may have lived their lives thinking that they could escape the consequences of their actions, that they could slip by unnoticed, that they could manipulate the world into giving them what they wanted. But the truth has a way of finding you. The truth has a way of exposing even the most carefully crafted lies. And now, as they stare at the empty stockings, the empty shelves, the empty hearts they have left behind, they must face the undeniable reality that they have earned nothing, not a single thing. Santa, the jolly old man who has come to represent the spirit of Christmas, has long since seen through their falsehoods. He has watched them from his lofty perch, watching as they made their choices, watching as they sowed the seeds of their own destruction. He saw every lie, every betrayal, every selfish act. And now, as the holiday season arrives, he has made his judgment. And his judgment is not one of anger, but of sorrow. Sorrow for those who have lost their way. Sorrow for those who have forgotten the true meaning of Christmas. Sorrow for those who have chosen the path of darkness over the path of light. It is not that Santa is incapable of forgiveness, not at all. But forgiveness requires genuine remorse, a true desire to change, to grow, to make amends. Santa gives gifts to those who have shown kindness and love, to those who have opened their hearts to others, to those who have given of themselves selflessly, without expectation of reward. But for those who have turned away from the light, who have chosen to live in darkness, there can be no gift, there can be no reward. Because rewards are not given freely. They are earned through action, through love, through generosity, through integrity. And so, these people will sit in the cold silence of their own making, knowing that they have earned nothing. They may try to distract themselves. They may try to drown out the emptiness with distractions, with false comforts. But deep down, they will always know that they are undeserving. They will always know that they have turned away from the light, from the warmth of love, from the magic of Christmas. And that is a feeling that cannot be escaped. It will follow them, haunt them, forever. Perhaps in the years to come, they will look back on this moment and realize the depth of their mistakes. Perhaps they will see the emptiness of their own hearts, the hollowness that they have allowed to take root. Perhaps they will come to understand that the greatest gift of all is not the material things we receive, but the love and kindness we show to others. Perhaps, just perhaps, they will wake up and realize that they can change. They can make amends. They can turn their lives around and begin to give, to love, to be the person they were always meant to be. But that is up to them. The choice is theirs. Santa will not force it upon them. He will not demand that they change. The gifts will remain out of reach, not because they are being punished, but because they have not yet earned them. The gift of Christmas is not a right, it is a privilege. And until they understand that, until they open their hearts and choose the path of light, they will continue to stand in the darkness, forever seeking something that they can never have. So let them wonder. Let them feel the cold emptiness that surrounds them. Let them search for meaning in the quiet of the night. Let them look into their own hearts and ask themselves what they have truly given. Because when all is said and done, the greatest gift is not the one we receive, but the one we give. And until they understand that, until they can see beyond their own selfish desires and give freely of themselves, they will never know the true meaning of Christmas. And that, dear friends, is the cruelest punishment of all. In the end, the greatest lesson lies in understanding that true gifts are earned, not demanded. They are a reflection of the kindness, love, and generosity we show to others, not just at Christmas, but throughout the year. For those who have lived in selfishness, deception, and coldness, the emptiness they feel now is the consequence of their own choices. Redemption is possible, but it requires sincere change, genuine remorse, and a commitment to selflessness. Until they recognize this, until they begin to give from the heart, the warmth of Christmas will forever elude them, and they will remain alone in the darkness they have created.
They thought the power lived in their plan. They whispered it in shadows, rehearsed it in their heads, convinced themselves that once they pulled the strings you would dance. What they never calculated was that the deadliest move is no move at all. You did not shout. You did not fight. You did not block their scheme or scramble to counter it. You simply showed no response. And in that silence, their entire design began to collapse. The manipulator feeds on reaction. Without reaction, they are starving. Their script depends on you speaking the lines they prepared. When you refuse, the stage goes dark. And suddenly the performer looks like a fool trapped under their own spotlight. Every manipulative scheme is a transaction of energy. They provoke, you supply. They twist, you explain. They push, you push back. The pattern only works if you participate. But when you stay unmoved, when you refuse to hand over your energy, their plan turns fragile. Their rage intensifies, their desperation leaks through, because the fuel they counted on is missing. What breaks them is not your attack, but your refusal to engage. It is like holding up a mirror where they expected a battlefield. They wanted chaos, you gave them quiet. They wanted to pull strings, you cut them by not moving. That kind of stillness is unbearable for those who live off control. Psychology teaches that manipulators rely on predictable patterns. They memorize your triggers. They know what words spark your defense. They know what silences make you chase. It becomes their playbook. But when you offer nothing, their playbook turns useless. They flip through pages of tactics, only to find every line blank. The shock is not in your power, but in your restraint. You showed them you were no longer the same participant. You had outgrown the rhythm they built to trap you. That is why they panic. Because when you remove the predictability of response, you remove the foundation of their plan. Their scheme was never brilliant, it was only recycled repetition. The most unnerving weapon you revealed was composure. Anyone can rage. Anyone can block, fight, argue. What few can master is stillness. When they insulted, you did not defend. When they disappeared, you did not chase. When they lied, you did not explain. This is not apathy, it is precision. You learned that not every battle deserves a sword. Some battles are won by starving the enemy of attention. They never considered that possibility. Their plan crumbled not because you confronted it, but because you rendered it irrelevant. You became untouchable by simply refusing to bend. That refusal was louder than any scream. What terrifies them is that silence gives you control of timing. They can push all they want, but you dictate when, if ever, you will move. That uncertainty is poison to their pride. They live on instant gratification. They want to see you flinch now, break now, beg now. Instead, you left them waiting in an endless void. Each second of your non-response burned deeper than any insult could. They wondered how much you knew, how long you had been aware, how many steps ahead you stood. That paranoia is the punishment. You did not need revenge. Your lack of response turned their own thoughts into weapons against them. You understood a truth most never grasp. Blocking their plan gives them recognition. They can say you fought them, and in saying so, they still hold a form of victory. But showing no response denies them even that satisfaction. You gave them nothing to cling to. You denied them the dignity of being your opponent. That is what breaks them most. To be ignored is worse than to be opposed. Indifference is heavier than hate. They wanted to prove themselves against you, to win a war they created. You denied them the war itself, and now they are left shadowboxing against ghosts. Their pride cannot survive that humiliation. There is elegance in refusing to play the part written for you. They wanted you cornered, desperate, shouting. Instead, you looked unbothered, unshaken, alive in your own clarity. That picture terrifies them. It tells them their influence is dead, their grip dissolved, their power exposed as illusion. They crafted their plan thinking they could puppeteer your emotions, but you severed the strings with your silence. That cut deeper than any counterattack ever could, because a counterattack admits the game is worth playing. Your refusal announced that the game itself was beneath you. That decision carries more power than any direct confrontation. Manipulators fear one thing above all: irrelevance. Their schemes are designed to keep you entangled, to make themselves the center of your energy. When you show zero response, you exile them into the prison they fear most: your indifference. They are no longer the center, no longer the focus, no longer the force shaping your life. They become background noise, exposed as small, powerless, desperate. That shift destroys them. Because relevance was their only oxygen, and you suffocated them without lifting a hand. That is why silence is not passive. It is strategic. It is the blade you wield without ever pulling it from its sheath. The beauty of showing no response is that it keeps your dignity intact. In anger, you say too much. In fear, you give too much. In desperation, you reveal too much. Silence reveals nothing. It preserves your strength, protects your peace, and makes you unshakable. They thought their plan would drain you. Instead, your lack of reaction drained them. You left with your dignity, while they drowned in their own paranoia. That contrast is the true victory. They built a strategy around stealing your energy. You walked away with all of it intact, and that is the ending they never prepared for. They wanted you cornered, because a corner is the easiest place to control someone. Walls behind you, options stripped. Eyes wide with panic. That was the picture they dreamed of. They calculated that fear would silence you, that desperation would make you beg, that confinement would shrink you into something small enough for them to dominate. But what they never prepared for was the truth that some people are most dangerous when pressed into corners. You did not shrink, you sharpened. You used the very walls meant to trap you as leverage to rise higher. They wanted you paralyzed, but instead you became unshakable. Their plan was not designed for someone like you. Control is an illusion built on the assumption that the other person will surrender. They assumed you would fold the second options narrowed, that the weight of pressure would crush your backbone. But pressure reveals character, and your character was not theirs to break. The corner they forced you into became the crucible where you forged resilience. They forgot that humans who are trapped either collapse or evolve, and you chose to evolve. They wanted the first outcome, and when you showed the second, panic spread across their face. They mistook limits for victory, but you used those same limits as proof you could adapt. That reversal broke them in ways no argument could. They thought the corner would silence you. They believed isolation would strip away your voice. Instead, the silence they forced upon you became the ground where you discovered your strength. Alone, you realized you had never needed their validation. Alone, you uncovered how little power they truly had. They wanted you cornered to suffocate you, but solitude only gave you clarity. It showed you that their approval was never oxygen, that their attention was never the lifeline they made it seem. What they mistook as imprisonment was freedom disguised. You did not crumble in the corner. They did, because you survived without them. Every manipulator believes corners are cages, but you treated the corner like a mirror. It reflected their desperation more than your weakness. You saw their hunger for control, their obsession with dominance, their terror of irrelevance. They needed you to look afraid because fear is leverage. You gave them composure instead. That composure dismantled the illusion. They realized the corner was not holding you. It was exposing them. The harder they tried to press, the more obvious their desperation became. Corners do not scare the observant, because corners reveal the one pushing. Their attempt to cage you only caged themselves. Psychology proves the point. When people feel cornered, they enter survival mode. Some panic and surrender, but others sharpen their instincts. They develop clarity they never knew they had, focus they never practiced before. That was your shift. You stopped reacting emotionally and started seeing strategically. You stopped bleeding energy into their traps and began conserving it. They wanted you flustered, but you became still. They wanted you reactive, but you became deliberate. That is the terror of trying to corner someone who learns quickly. The predator becomes predictable, and the prey becomes patient. By the end, the corner was not your cage, but your classroom. They underestimated how silence multiplies power. In the corner, you spoke less, you reacted less, you gave less. And the less you gave, the more unstable they became. They wanted outbursts, but your quiet destroyed them. They wanted you frantic, but your calm unnerved them. The corner became the stage where they exposed their arrogance. They had overplayed their hand, convinced that trapping you would end the story. Yet every second you stayed grounded, their confidence melted. They realized too late that the corner was not suffocating you. It was suffocating their illusion of dominance. You became larger in the corner than you ever had in open space. The truth is, they needed you cornered because they feared you in motion. They knew that if you had freedom to move, to choose, to detach, their hold over you would collapse. Corners are their last strategy, and the fact that they forced you into one was proof of their desperation. They had already run out of other tactics. They thought the corner would finally guarantee their control, but it only proved how powerless they truly were. You recognized this. Instead of panicking, you let their final move expose them. You stood in the corner they built, unshaken, and made them realize their checkmate was an illusion. You learned something profound. They can trap space, but they cannot trap spirit. You carried your dignity even when the walls closed in. They could strip away opportunities. They could twist stories, they could isolate you, but they could never command your response. That is the card they feared most, that you would refuse to surrender your mind, and you proved it in silence. The corner was supposed to be their triumph. Instead, it became the ground where you crowned yourself with self-respect. They wanted you to suffocate in their design, but you breathed deeper than ever before. The corner revealed who they were. Arrogance dressed as strategy. Control dressed as confidence. Fear dressed as power. They wanted you cornered because they thought it would hide their fragility. Instead, it exposed it. You looked unbothered while they revealed their panic. You looked steady while they revealed their addiction to control. Corners do not always trap the one standing inside them. Sometimes they trap the one who built them. That was the twist they never saw. They believed they had placed you in prison, but the bars bent back toward them. They became the prisoner of their own scheme. Leverage is always temporary, no matter how tightly they believe they are holding it. They build their control on fear, guilt, silence, or manipulation, but each of those tools has an expiration date. Fear fades once you face it. Guilt dies when you realize you never owed them your suffering. Silence loses power once you learn to live without their voice. Manipulation collapses the moment you stop reacting. They thought leverage was eternal, but what they never understood is that leverage only survives when the other person cooperates. The second you withdraw your cooperation, their control evaporates. You watched their grip weaken the moment you stopped handing them reasons to hold you. What they thought was chains was nothing more than thread, and once you noticed, you tore it apart with ease. They always forget that leverage needs constant feeding. If they controlled you through guilt, they had to keep throwing accusations. If they controlled you through fear, they had to keep inventing threats. If they controlled you through approval, they had to keep dangling it like a prize. Every form of leverage drains the one who holds it. It consumes their energy, it corrodes their stability, and it forces them to live in paranoia. always checking to make sure the hook is still in your skin. You realize this. You let them exhaust themselves until their control became a burden too heavy for them to carry. They called it power, but in truth, it was dependency. Their leverage tied them to you just as much as it tied you to them. When you stopped reacting, their world cracked. They pushed the guilt button and received nothing. They tried the silent treatment and found you unbothered. They unleashed insults and saw no defense. That was the moment they realized leverage does not live in the act. It lives in the response. Without your reaction, their entire arsenal turned useless. This is why leverage is always temporary, because the one being manipulated can, at any time, choose to stop feeding it. That choice is not easy, but it is always possible. You embodied that choice, and in doing so, you showed them the fragility of their supposed control. Their panic was proof. Their anger was proof. They knew the hook had slipped, and without it, they were powerless. Arrogance blinds them into believing leverage will last forever. They mistake compliance for dependence, silence for submission, patience for weakness. They never consider that you are observing, calculating, and preparing to sever the rope. They brag about how tightly they have you trapped, but arrogance always dulls foresight. They cannot see the day you wake up and decide their hold is meaningless. That day arrives quietly, but when it does, the collapse is immediate. They go from believing they are untouchable to realizing they were always standing on thin ice. Leverage feels strong in the moment, but it always contains the seed of its own destruction. Arrogance waters that seed until it grows into exposure. And by then, you are no longer under their hand. You are the one watching their downfall. Leverage is borrowed power. They do not own you. They only borrow the parts of you you've handed over. Your guilt, your fear, your longing, your insecurity, those were never theirs to keep. They only use them because you let them. When you take them back, the borrowed power returns to its rightful owner. That realization is brutal for them. They are left standing with empty hands, unable to comprehend how fast the shift occurred. They cannot rebuild because their entire identity was built on control. You showed them that borrowed power has an end date, and the borrower always pays. They paid with panic, with desperation, with humiliation. The day you reclaimed yourself, they discovered the truth. Leverage without cooperation is nothing but smoke. They will scramble to reinvent their grip. They will attempt new tactics, new masks, new hooks. But you already know the pattern, and knowledge is the death of leverage. Once you have seen the string, you can never be fooled by the puppet show again. They rely on surprise, on catching you unaware, on you believing they are the only source of what you seek. But awareness strips them bare. You see the script before they speak it. You recognize the silence before they use it. You anticipate the guilt before they twist it. They are not mysterious anymore. They are predictable. Predictability is fatal to leverage. Once someone is predictable, they can no longer hold you. That is why your composure terrifies them more than your anger. What makes leverage fragile is its dependence on illusion. They need you to believe they are stronger than you, wiser than you, indispensable to you. They build myths around their importance. But illusion cannot survive contact with reality. When you stand in your own clarity, their importance shrinks into dust. They wanted to be the reason you rose or the reason you fell, but you denied them both. You rose on your own terms, and you fell on your own terms, and neither had anything to do with them. That is when the illusion shattered. They had nothing left to hold over you, because they were never the source of your power. You cut through the illusion and exposed leverage for what it truly is: temporary smoke meant to look like steel. Psychology reveals that control collapses the moment the control develops self-trust. They wanted you to believe you were weak without them. They wanted you to question yourself, to second-guess your instincts, to hand over decision-making to their authority. But once you began trusting yourself, their leverage turned into comedy. Their accusations no longer carried weight. Their silence no longer hurt. Their rejection no longer mattered. Self-trust killed every tactic they had. That is why leverage cannot last. It is always built on borrowed confidence, borrowed stability, borrowed power. The day you stop borrowing from them, the loan ends, and they are left empty. Leverage always feels permanent in the middle of the storm. but it never survives the clarity of distance. You look back and laugh at the tricks that once controlled you. You see how fragile they always were, how easily the chains could have been broken if you only realized the lock was an illusion. That perspective is what changes you forever. You will never again be held by the same hooks. You will never again be cornered by the same lies. You will never again hand over the parts of yourself they once borrowed. Leverage may have worked once, but once it breaks, it never returns with the same force. You are immune now. Their empire crumbled the second you stepped out of it. They wanted you in chaos because they thrived in it. They expected you to scream, to flail, to collapse under the weight of what they did. But instead of joining their storm, you stood calm. That difference burned deeper than any words could. Contrast is the true victory because it forces them to confront the gap between who they are and who you became. While they scrambled for attention, you stayed composed. While they played dirty, you moved with precision. While they sank into bitterness, you rose into dignity. That distance is not just visible. It is humiliating for them. It makes their tactics look childish, their pride look hollow, and their schemes look small. The victory is not in destroying them. The victory is in living as living proof that you were always above their level. Contrast breaks people without you ever needing to touch them. When they see you unbothered while they stew in their own resentment, it haunts them. They expect revenge, but you do not chase. They expect anger, but you deliver silence. They expect collapse, but you walk away stronger. Each time you defy their expectation, you cut deeper. The human mind is wired to compare, and in comparison, they are left looking weak while you look untouchable. That realization destroys them more than direct confrontation ever could. Contrast is sharper than any insult because it is undeniable. They cannot spin it. They cannot lie against it. They cannot twist it. Your existence becomes the reminder of their failure. The brilliance of contrast lies in the mirror it creates. You do not need to shout that you won. They see it every time they measure themselves against you. They hold grudges, you build peace. They stay stagnant, you keep evolving. They repeat their cycles, you break yours. That reflection is devastating for them because it proves all their energy spent trying to cage you only fueled your transformation. You turned the weight they gave you into wings, and they turned their opportunities into chains. When people compare themselves, they rarely admit the truth aloud, but they feel it. That quiet humiliation eats them alive, and you do not need to say a word. Contrast makes betrayal look foolish. They betrayed you expecting your ruin, but when you glow brighter than ever, their betrayal becomes their shame. They told lies expecting you to crumble, but when you thrive beyond their reach, the lies backfire. They doubted you, mocked you, dismissed you, but your success made them the punchline. Contrast turns their actions into evidence against them. They wanted to bury you, but you became the reminder that nothing they did worked. Their power dissolves when you stand tall in the aftermath. That is why contrast is terrifying. It holds them accountable in ways you never need to explain. The evidence is you. Psychology makes this simple. Humans define themselves by difference. You only know light because of darkness, strength because of weakness, calm because of chaos. You use this principle against them without even trying. They became the chaos, and you became the calm. They became the weakness, and you became the resilience. They became the bitterness, and you became the composure. Contrast does not just elevate you, it exposes them. It forces them into the role they never wanted to admit they played. The more you shine, the more obvious their shadow becomes. They cannot escape the comparison, because the mind naturally seeks balance. In the balance, they lose and you rise. They hoped your pain would validate their choices. They wanted your collapse to make their betrayal feel justified. But you robbed them of that comfort. You smiled in places they assumed you would break. You built in moments they thought you would destroy yourself. You kept moving while they remained stagnant. That gap widened daily, until your existence became a quiet accusation. They hate that they cannot take credit for your glow. And they hate even more that their attempts to dim you became the fire that fueled it. That is contrast, turning their scheme into your stepping stone while leaving them stuck in the mud they created. They planned for your weakness, but you rewrote the outcome into their embarrassment. Contrast also teaches you restraint. You learn you do not need to fight every battle, because time will do the fighting for you. The more you focus on building, the clearer the difference becomes. They age in bitterness, you grow in power. They gossip in corners, you stand in clarity. They plot small games, you think beyond the board entirely. The passage of time magnifies the contrast until it can no longer be denied. They lose by default, because every year you elevate is another year they remain unchanged. That is the most elegant victory. It requires no noise, only patience. Contrast is powerful because it is remembered. People forget words, but they never forget how it felt to stand next to someone who made them look small by presence alone. That is what you carry now. They may not speak your name, but they think of you when they measure their failures. They may not acknowledge the difference, but the difference gnaws at them. You turned your survival into a legacy, and they turned their manipulation into regret. That imbalance will follow them, even in silence. You left them not with scars, but with a mirror they cannot break. The more they study you, the more contrast eats them. They watch you navigate storms without drowning, and it exposes their inability to swim. They watch you grow quietly, and it mocks their stagnation. They watch you become untouchable, and it highlights their dependency. Every detail of your existence is now a reminder of their smallness. That is why contrast is feared. It cannot be defeated with lies or performance. It cannot be dismissed with arrogance. It is the truth that lingers, the gap that remains, the wound that never heals. They do not lose when you confront them. They lose every time you live better than they calculated. They begged for honesty, pleaded for transparency, and swore they valued authenticity. But when you spoke, when you laid bare the fragile scaffolding of their lies, suddenly you were the villain. It's almost laughable, the way they clamored for the truth until it shattered the illusions they'd wrapped themselves in. Their cries for honesty were never genuine. They wanted reassurance, not reality. And when you refused to play the role of the comforting liar, they turned on you. Because the truth isn't something they wanted, it's something they feared. Speaking the truth is an act of rebellion in a world built on half-truths and convenient silence. It disrupts the delicate balance of their carefully constructed fantasies. They relied on the unspoken agreement that everyone would look the other way, that no one would call out the hypocrisy hiding in plain sight. But you didn't just see it, you said it, and that was your crime. Not the truth itself, but your audacity to voice it. It wasn't the lie that hurt them. It was the mirror you held up. People love their heroes as long as the hero saves them from others. The moment you save them from themselves, you become the villain. When you pointed out their flaws, their contradictions, their masks, you weren't attacking them. You were liberating them from their own delusions. But freedom is a burden, and not everyone is ready to carry it. They don't hate the truth because it's harsh. They hate it because it demands change, and change terrifies them. The funny thing about truth is that it doesn't care about feelings. It's impartial, cold, and unrelenting. You spoke it not to hurt them, but to free yourself, to step out of their narrative, their games, their need for validation at the expense of your own integrity. But people who live in a house of lies can't afford the glare of truth. It weakens the foundation, threatens the structure. So they labeled you the villain, because it was easier than admitting they'd built their lives on sand. They'll call you heartless, cruel, unkind, anything to shift the blame. They'll rewrite the story, paint themselves as the victim, and cast you as the antagonist. Because that's what people do when the truth exposes their weakness. They don't confront it. they deflect it. Your role as the villain is their shield, their way of preserving the fragile image they've constructed. But deep down, they know. Oh, they know. And that knowledge will haunt them far more than your words ever could. You're not the villain in this story. You're the catalyst. The one who dared to disrupt the status quo, to speak the words everyone else was too afraid to say. They needed a scapegoat, and you fit the role perfectly. But don't let their narrative define you. Villains, after all, are just heroes who refuse to play by the rules. And the rules they wrote were never meant to protect you. They were meant to silence you. They'll try to make you question yourself, to make you wonder if you were too harsh, too blunt, too real. Don't fall for it. The problem was never how you said it. It was that you said it at all. They wanted you to play along, to keep the peace, to hold your tongue. But silence is complicity, and you refuse to be complicit in their charade. That's not cruelty, it's courage. The beauty of truth is that it doesn't fade, no matter how much they try to bury it. Their labels, their accusations, their twisted version of events, none of it changes the reality you exposed. And while they scramble to patch the cracks, to rebuild the walls you tore down, the truth will linger. It will echo in their minds, in their conversations, in their quietest moments. They may call you the villain, but you'll always be the one who saw through the illusion. Let them talk. Let them twist. Let them rewrite the script. Their labels don't define you. If anything, they're proof of your impact. You spoke the truth, and it hit them where it hurt most. That's not a failure. That's a victory. You're not here to fit their narrative, to be their hero, their pawn, their enabler. You're here to live authentically, to speak honestly, to disrupt the lies that suffocate you. Owning your perspective is no small feat. It's a rebellion against the unspoken rules of social conformity, where silence is golden, and honesty is too sharp, too disruptive. The world isn't kind to those who speak their minds. It prefers the quiet, the agreeable, the ones who don't disturb the peace. But owning your truth means stepping into a storm of resistance. It demands resilience, the kind of strength that doesn't falter under the weight of collective disapproval. They labeled you the villain because you refused to wear the mask of conformity. And in doing so, you expose the fragile foundation they stand on. Social conformity thrives on compliance. It rewards those who nod along, who keep their dissenting thoughts locked away. Honesty, on the other hand, is punished. It's called abrasive, disrespectful, unnecessary. But the reality is, honesty challenges the status quo. It forces people to confront ideas they've comfortably ignored. By owning your perspective, you disrupt the flow, turning the tide against a system that values harmony over truth. And that disruption makes you a target. Resilience isn't just about enduring criticism. It's about thriving in its presence. Every label they throw your way, every attempt to silence you, becomes fuel for your fire. You learn to stand tall, to let their judgments roll off your back, because you know the power of what you're saying. Speaking your truth isn't about convincing them. It's about liberating yourself. It's about refusing to let their expectations define your voice. Owning your perspective means understanding that not everyone will applaud your honesty. In fact, most won't. They'll twist your words, project their insecurities, and blame you for the discomfort your truth brings. But that discomfort isn't your responsibility. It's theirs. Resilience means recognizing this distinction, refusing to shoulder the burden of their emotions, and continuing to speak anyway. Social conformity feeds on fear, the fear of exclusion, of rejection, of being labeled the villain. But resilience thrives on courage. It's the courage to be misunderstood, to be criticized, to stand alone if necessary. It's knowing that your value isn't determined by their approval, but by your integrity. And when you own your perspective, you reclaim that power. The rewards of resilience aren't immediate. The backlash is swift, the isolation palpable. But over time, your truth resonates. It finds those who need to hear it, who see in your courage a reflection of what they've been too afraid to express. Your resilience becomes a beacon, not just for yourself, but for others, seeking permission to own their perspectives too. Owning your perspective means embracing imperfection. It's not about always being right. It's about being real. Social conformity seeks to smooth the edges, to create a homogenized, palatable version of everyone. But resilience is about celebrating those edges, about refusing to sand them down to fit into their mold. Your honesty, your authenticity, your unfiltered truth, that's what sets you apart. That's what makes you powerful. They labeled you the villain, because villains are easier to dismiss. If they can paint you as the problem, they don't have to confront the problem themselves. But your resilience doesn't need their validation. It's rooted in something deeper, your commitment to yourself, and that commitment is unshakable. Social conformity may reward silence, but silence is a cage. Resilience breaks that cage wide open. It gives you the strength to speak, to stand, to live authentically in a world that begs you to conform. Owning your perspective isn't easy. It's a battle. But it's a battle worth fighting, because the alternative is losing yourself to the noise of collective complacency. Truth-tellers exist in a space few dare to occupy. Their words cut through the fog, laying bare the uncomfortable realities that most would rather leave untouched. When you spoke, you didn't aim to harm. You aimed to clarify, to illuminate the blind spots they refuse to see. But the world doesn't reward clarity. It fears it. It misinterprets it. It labels those who speak plainly as antagonists, because the truth they bring disrupts the comfort of collective ignorance. They labeled you the villain, not because you were wrong, but because you were right. Misunderstanding isn't a passive reaction. It's a defense mechanism. The truths you exposed weren't just inconvenient. They were a threat to the identities they'd built around them. To admit you were right would be to admit they were wrong. And few have the humility to confront that kind of reckoning. So instead, they twist your words, paint you as cruel or arrogant, and convince themselves that the fault lies with you, not with their refusal to listen. Truth has a way of destabilizing the familiar. It's like pulling the rug out from under their feet, forcing them to look at the cracks they've been ignoring. You didn't create the cracks. You simply pointed them out. But in their eyes, that's enough to cast you as the antagonist. Because to them, the comfort of denial outweighs the liberation of truth. They would rather live in the dark than confront the light you offered. Misunderstanding isn't failure. It's resistance. Resistance to change, to growth, to seeing the world as it truly is. And you, as the truth teller, are the catalyst for that resistance. They may reject your words today, but those words will echo long after the conversation has ended. The truth has a way of lingering, of resurfacing when they least expect it. It's not always immediate. but it's inevitable. Truth-telling demands resilience, because it often feels like shouting into the void. Your words are met with defensiveness, hostility, even betrayal. But those reactions aren't about you. They're about them. Their discomfort is their own to bear. Your role isn't to make them comfortable. It's to speak the words that need to be spoken, regardless of how they're received. Being misunderstood is a lonely place to be. It isolates you, puts you at odds with the very people you're trying to reach. But in that loneliness lies strength. You're not alone because you're wrong. You're alone because you dared to say what others wouldn't. And that courage sets you apart. It makes you a force they can't ignore, no matter how much they try. The truth is not a beacon of comfort. It's a flame that burns away illusions. When you speak it, you don't just share your perspective. You force others to confront their own. They thought their carefully constructed world of half-truths and convenient lies would stand unchallenged. But your words shattered the illusion. Truth-tellers are not misunderstood because they're unclear. They're misunderstood because clarity is uncomfortable. It demands accountability, and accountability is something most would rather avoid. People don't fear the truth itself. They fear what it reveals. When you expose the cracks in their logic, the hypocrisy in their actions, or the vulnerability in their facade, you become a threat. Your words disrupt their narrative, and instead of examining the message, they attack the messenger. Misunderstanding becomes their shield, a way to deflect from the reality they'd rather not face. They don't misunderstand you because you're wrong. They misunderstand you because you're right. Speaking the truth is not about being liked. It's about being heard. The misunderstanding you face is not a failure of communication, but a reflection of resistance. They don't want to understand, because understanding requires change, and change is a threat to their comfort. They label you the villain, not because you've done harm, but because you've disrupted their harmony, the harmony of denial. Misunderstanding creates distance, a divide between you and those who once walked alongside you. Friends, colleagues, even family may pull away, not because they don't care, but because they can't reconcile your truth with their reality. This is the price truth tellers pay to stand alone, misunderstood, while others cling to the familiar. But solitude in truth is far more rewarding than company in illusion. Truth tellers are often mistaken for agitators, rebels who thrive on chaos. But the chaos isn't yours, it's theirs. Your words bring light to what they've kept in the shadows, and light is unsettling when you've grown used to the dark. Their misunderstanding isn't rejection, it's avoidance. They label you harsh, unkind, even cruel, but their words are a reflection of their fear, not your actions. To illuminate reality is not an act of cruelty, but of courage. It's easy to let things slide, to let others live in their illusions, to avoid the discomfort of confrontation. But truth-tellers understand that the cost of silence is far greater. You may lose their approval, but you gain your integrity. And in time, they may come to see the value of what you've shared, though they'll rarely admit it. Misunderstanding is often a precursor to enlightenment. Many who resisted the truth, initially later, come to see its wisdom. They may never thank you, may never acknowledge your role, but their growth is a testament to your courage. Truth-telling plants seeds, and those seeds grow, even in the soil of misunderstanding. The fruits of your honesty may take time to ripen, but they will. Your role as a truth teller is not to be loved, but to be authentic. The misunderstanding is inevitable, but it doesn't define you. It's a reflection of their journey, not yours. Your path is one of clarity, even when it leads to isolation. And that isolation, while difficult, is a sign that you've chosen integrity over conformity. Approval is a seductive currency. It buys acceptance, harmony, and a fleeting sense of belonging. But when you choose to speak the truth, you often have to forfeit this currency. You realize that approval and authenticity rarely coexist in a world that rewards silence over honesty. Detaching from the need for approval isn't just a skill, it's a liberation. It's what allows you to stand firm in your truth, unapologetically, even as others label you the villain for disrupting their comfort. The need for approval is a leash, subtle, yet suffocating. It tugs at your words, urging you to soften, to dilute, to conform. But when you detach from that need, the leash snaps, and with it, the power others hold over you. You no longer seek validation from those who thrive on illusions. Approval often comes at the cost of authenticity. To earn it, you must compromise, bend, and sometimes break. But the truth doesn't bend. It doesn't cater to egos or pander to expectations. Detaching from the need for approval means choosing the harder path. The path where you speak your truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it isolates you. It's a path of strength, not submission. People will test your detachment. They'll withhold their approval as a weapon, hoping to pull you back into their fold. But when you've truly detached, their attempts fall flat. Their disappointment, their criticism, their accusations, they lose their sting. You see them for what they are, attempts to control, not reflections of your worth. And in seeing this, you rise above it. Detaching from approval doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring differently. You care about your integrity, your values, your commitment to living authentically. This shift in focus strengthens your resilience. It allows you to weather the storms of criticism, to stand firm when the crowd turns against you. You become unshakable, not because you're invulnerable, but because you've anchored yourself in something deeper than their opinions. The irony is that detachment often leads to respect. People may not agree with you, but they'll admire your courage. They may not like what you say, but they'll recognize your conviction. Approval rooted in conformity is fragile. Respect earned through authenticity is unbreakable. And while you may lose the former, you gain the latter in ways that matter far more. Detachment doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a muscle you strengthen with every decision to prioritize truth over comfort. It requires moments of doubt, of second-guessing, of questioning whether the cost is too high. But each time you choose authenticity over approval, the muscle grows stronger. And with it, so does your voice. Telling the truth is not a popularity contest. It isn't designed to win friends or earn applause. It's a statement, an act of alignment with your values, and often a catalyst for genuine change. When you choose to speak the truth, you step outside the realm of likability and into the realm of integrity. They labeled you the villain because you prioritized authenticity over their comfort, because you chose to shatter the silence that protected their illusions. But truth-telling has never been about being liked. It's about being real. When you tell the truth, You align yourself with something greater than fleeting approval. You align with your own sense of right and wrong, your own understanding of what matters. This alignment creates clarity, a sense of peace that comes from knowing you've acted in accordance with your principles. It may isolate you in the short term, but it frees you from the burden of living a lie. And in that freedom, you find strength. People often resist the truth because it disrupts their equilibrium. They cling to the familiar, even when the familiar is toxic or false. Your honesty forces them to confront realities they'd rather ignore, to question beliefs they've held for years. This is why truth-tellers are rarely celebrated. They hold up a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. But change doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discomfort. And your words, though unwelcome, plant the seeds of that change. Truth-telling isn't about forcing others to see things your way. It's about offering a perspective rooted in honesty and letting them wrestle with it. The beauty of truth is that it doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It lingers, resonates, and grows, even when it's met with resistance. They may reject your words in the moment, but those words will echo in their minds long after the conversation ends. Genuine change begins with honesty. It's not just about exposing what's wrong. It's about creating the space for what's right. By telling the truth, you challenge the status quo, not out of malice, but out of a desire for something better. This isn't villainy, it's courage. And courage, though misunderstood, is what drives progress. The need to be liked often silences truth-tellers. But the world doesn't need more agreeable voices. It needs voices willing to take a stand. Likability is fragile, contingent on pleasing others. Truth, on the other hand, is unyielding. It doesn't bend to opinions or popularity. It simply exists, waiting for those with the courage to speak it. And when you do, you shift the narrative, even if it comes at the cost of approval. Truth-telling is an act of service. It's not about elevating yourself, but about fostering clarity, accountability, and growth. People may not thank you for it, and that's okay. Change is rarely met with gratitude in the moment. But over time, the impact of your honesty becomes undeniable. It forces people to think, to question, to evolve. And that's a legacy far greater than being liked.